Welcome to your community, Pakistan Dynamics 365 and Power Platform community. So we all welcome everyone, and we I would like to thank everyone on behalf of all the community leaders, to all the volunteers who have given their time, precious time out of their family time, giving and waking up so early in the morning, staying late, and giving their weekend time to the community. Special thanks to all the speakers and most importantly, all the attendees. Without you guys, without attendees, no event can be successful. So thank you so much again from Pakistan community. Quickly, I would like to introduce about what is the meaning of this group. So that's the first ever group for Pakistan where we have built a community with the name of Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. It's a place to share knowledge. It's not limited to only locals, not only for Pakistan people. We are we are welcoming people from across the globe. You are most welcome to come and join this community. You can speak in any language, whatever language you can speak at your ease. We would always prefer to speak in Urdu and English, but it's just a preference, not the requirement. All we need just the knowledge sharing. Come and speak and share your knowledge. Even just if even you can talk in a diagrammatical way, come and speak. This is how we are aiming to create a community in Pakistan to help our community members to grow their knowledge, network, and the experience with the whole ecosystem. So that's a great place to network each other and learn things which you can do in weeks or months. You can learn in these sessions within hours or within a day. So that all the sessions are full of knowledge. I would urge everyone to join this community and make a part of this successful journey here. You can follow us on our LinkedIn page, on Meetup page, and all the videos are uploaded on this YouTube channel. How you can get involved? Very easy ways. There are so many hashtags floating around on LinkedIn and Twitter. One of the uh, hashtag or Twitter handler we have chosen for Pakistan is Pakistan D65 Power Platform Community. I know it's a long, but this is what we wanted to use for now. You can always use Finance and Operations, CE, Dynamics Community, Power Platform. You can always use these tags in order if you are writing some blogs on your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And not to mention here, you can always get involved with Dynamics Con. This is one of the biggest community working around the globe, gathering people from different cultures, from different languages. So do connect at Dynamics Con too. Well, with this one, I would like to introduce what we are going to discuss and who are the four uh, marvelous speakers we got today. So that's all about the women empowerment, motivation, and community engagement. So stay tuned. Uh, I'll quickly hand over to our community leader, Amna Khan here. Amna, stage is set for you.
Hello. Thank you, Faisal. Good day, everyone. Okay, so as Faisal mentioned that today we are celebrating inclusivity and diversity in our industry, and we are having our wonderful women today, that is Molly, Qurat, and Amna Jalal, with whom we will be talking later today. But before that, let me give a brief introduction for myself and how did I get a chance to be a part of this community. And now I have joined it as a community leader. So first of all, I would like to thank to Faisal who actually encouraged me to be a part of this wonderful community. And earlier I started my journey as a speaker. I took participate in few community sessions, technical or functional. Eventually, he encouraged me to start hosting different sessions. So this is my first event that I am participating as not only a speaker but as a host. So it's a privilege again. And besides that, what do I do? I am an MCP, and I am MSP as well, working on Microsoft technologies. Mostly the area that I worked on is Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. That is my area where I do work, and I work as a CRM developer in Power. Hello.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so sorry, I think I just lost the connection. Oh, so I was telling that I am working as a software engineer, CRM developer at Very Park Solutions, Pakistan. And besides that, I am having a great experience overall in my career, having great inspirations from women that we have in our industry. So it's going great. And I am really eager to learn a lot and to learn more about the industry, about the communities, and I believe in collaboration because I think if anyone who is willing to incline or who is willing to have something new, collaboration is a key where you can put on and you can achieve more. Because without collaboration, it makes a gap to to grow yourself up. So I believe in community collaborations. Besides that, can you please move to the next slide? Yeah. Here are the links that are mentioned. If anybody wants to contact me, here is the details for my LinkedIn profile and my email address where you can contact me immediately. And this is up for my introduction. Now, I think we should move on for the exciting journey that we have today. Our first and our keynote speaker, Ms. Qurat UlAin. So what she is doing, like the introduction that we have here, is just a concise introduction for herself. Like she is not only an AVP, but besides that, she is an excellent mentor, a guardian, and of course, an influencer. Um, like she is one of the inspirations that we have. And to be very honest, in my career, what what so I am right now, it's reflecting a part of her personality because she is my immediate mentor as well. So thank you so much. Over to you, Kurat.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Amna. I am a bit overwhelmed listening to all of that. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity that we can all connect and celebrate women in our industry. Um, so I'm not going to talk a lot about my introduction. Let's just dive right into what we are here to talk today about. Um, so women in tech, and especially how to empower women from the region where we are, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, where the industry, the IT industry is on the rise. We are getting a lot of work. Women are studying and they're stepping into the professional architecture. So it's all happening. We just need to know how to pave our ways. What is the journey like, and what would be the roadblocks? How do you move ahead from there if you fall? So first, I'll tell you how I started. I have a very unconventional journey. So let's talk a bit about that, and then I'll let you know. As Amna said, that I also try and mentor people. There are a few key principles that I follow in my life, and I also share with all the men and women whenever I come across someone who wants to learn. Um, I graduated in 2011 as an electrical engineer. I didn't study computer sciences in my basic graduation, and while I was studying, I knew it was not my calling. And at that time, it was very difficult to move away from what I had learned for 4 years, in fact, for 18 years of my life, and start doing something new. So around the second or third year of my study, when I was in that engineering program, I started doing some IT certifications. I began working as a technical writer, got some certifications in Cisco, started learning how digital marketing works. Social media was on the rise at that point in time. So I got my hands onto everything that I could get access to. And the reason at that point was not because I thought this is what my calling is. I just wanted to run away from electrical engineering. So I didn't want to get into the generators and transformers. And I was just trying to find a way out. So yeah, that was the intention at that point in time. During the last 2 years, when I was, trying to do these multiple things, I learned a lot. That's one thing. I got a lot of opportunities when I stepped out and I started getting those certifications. I started talking to people. I worked with a lot of international clients at that point in time for whom I was writing. I started working as project coordinator with them after doing PMP and a few other Scrum Master certifications. So I got to know, I got a hook of it of how things work, but I was still not there. So I decided to have my final year project around technology and how to automate processes rather than it being all about electrical engineering. So that was my cheat way into it. I for 1.5 years I did a project which was about automating the attendance processes at that point in time without having any physical connection with the individual, and how to automate it for the university students and teachers and for the staff members. And we were using MATLAB and all the technologies that are available at that point in time. Soon after I graduated, I started working as a digital marketer. That was my first step. And from there onwards, it continued. I got my hands onto Dynamic CRM for the first time in 2012 on premise version 4.0. I don't know, maybe a lot of people might have not seen it who have recently joined or have joined a few years back, but that was my first interaction with the application. And yeah, so from there onwards, I began working on Dynamics. I have done numerous projects I cannot count now. I've worked with some Microsoft partners. I kept working on, so my expertise grew in two areas. I was managing projects, I was managing resources, and I was also designing the solutions. The first few solutions that I designed were around how to use customer engagement or customer relationship management at that point in time for nonprofit sector, for education sector. That were the starting bits of it. Right now, I'm working with Systems Limited, as Amna mentioned, as Assistant Vice President PMO. But don't take the designation too seriously. I'm just doing the job as all of you are doing, and I'm trying to play my part here. So whenever we're talking about empowerment, it is very easy to come and tell you a success story and say, I'm very comfortably placed where I am. It is very easy to say that, these are my successes. I have X number of certifications. I am a TED speaker, and I was chosen because of X number of things. That's very easy to tell you. Today, what I would like to talk about is the value of suffering, how failure has led me to where I am. So every time that have I not fallen? Of course I have. Have I not failed? I fail every day and I fail miserably. But the moment I fail, if I decide that I have to get back up, that is what empowers me. And that is what I believe makes a difference in all of our lives. I have failed professionally, I have failed personally, and I fail every day. But I have that, I have that um, inspiration. I have so many inspirational people around me. I have had a lot of mentors. So I look back at my life and see where I have come, and then there is such a long way to go. So I get back up on my 2 feet every single time I fall. The reason why I am mentioning not just the successes but failures is because I want all of us to know and accept that empowerment is just not about being successful. Empowerment begins when you understand that even if you're failing, even if you don't have what you want, or even if you don't have what you want to achieve today, you need to accept where you are, what you have, and then start from there. you will keep failing. You will not reach your destination right when you start. You whenever you feel that you're there, the situation will change, the circumstances will be something else. So it is a journey, it is not a destination. Don't look at it as something that you have achieved and that's it, that you have nailed it, you have won the game. No, that's not what it is like. So it's a journey, it will continue, you will fail, you will suffer, and then you will get back up and continue on the journey, and that's what empowers you, that's what is going to make you successful. um, Besides my journey, a few more things that I would like to talk about. There are three key C's that I have always followed in my life. If we can move to the next slide, you can see it written. So, community, collaboration, and coaching. These are the three key C's that I have always followed. So, community, we know as we are connected, we are communicating, we are trying to talk to each other, learn from each other, grow as not as individuals, but as a group, as a community. Collaboration is a bit interesting. So today, since we're talking about women and we're talking about women empowerment, there is a stereotype that I believe all women and men must have heard about, is that women are always very competitive, right? We are always up against each other. That is a very common stereotype. And that is what I aim to break. We have to reverse that notion. We cannot uh, go anywhere. We cannot get to our goals. We cannot achieve anything until or unless we start collaborating. Competition is not taking us anywhere. So we have to collaborate. We have to reverse that notion. And coaching is very near to my heart. So, I always talk about building an open coaching culture where we try and identify what we are good at and then just, help each other in reaching our goals. So, it is a process that basically empowers you to adapt your chief traits. It unlocks your true potential and maximizes your performance. So coaching is something that builds awareness and empowers choice, and eventually it leads to change. So today I would request all of you to go back and become the coaches that you always wanted to have in your lives. I have been lucky enough to have not just one, but numerous coaches in my life who have been my mentors, my teachers, and people who have helped me achieve whatever I have achieved today. And even now, if I have some aims, I go back to them, I talk to them, and they help me learn new skills, they help me grow. So when we get off the session today, I would request all of you to become the coaches that you always wanted to have, and that is how we can bring up each other. So the worldview should be driven by coaching. The worldview should be of service to each other. We have to build a culture, we have to cultivate a culture that empowers one another, that brings each other up. And as the last slide that is shown here says, empowered women empower women. So we have to be inspired by each other's success and cheer each other along the way. That's the way ahead. I have not spoken about the TED Talk journey. That's a conversation for another time. That was also very interesting, with a lot of tears and failures and a lot of successes as well, alhamdulillah. But that is something we'll talk about sometime, some other time. You can reach out to me if you want, and if there's anything that I can help you with, I would be happy to do that. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, via email. I'm there on Twitter, but I am not very active on other social media besides LinkedIn because I don't have that much of time. But you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'm pretty active, and I'll get back to you. So yeah, all the empowered women, go back and empower more women. We need more women. We need to channelize the talent that we have, and and grow as a community. That's it from my end. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask, chime in. I am happy to answer your questions, and I really hope that whatever I've shared today will help you guys in carving your own journeys.
Wow, that was a marvelous session, Kurat. Thank you so much for your time. It's been privilege for us to be have.
Thank
We
you,
would
Amna.
surely have
Yeah.
question answers later because I am sure there are a number of questions that we have and we are really inclined to discuss them with you. But moving forward now for our second keynote speaker, Molly. She is one of the best human being I have ever met.
Oh.
She is a great community leader. And besides that, I think I don't have enough words to introduce her. So I think it's better if Molly, introduce herself in a better way. So over to you, Molly.
Thank you, Amna. Oh, hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Good afternoon, good evening. It's good morning for me. I love mornings, so this worked out perfect. Qurat, that was a great presentation. I'm so inspired, and I have a lot of questions for you at the end. Well, everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Molly Fuschel. I'm located in the central part of the United States near Canada, and I'm so excited to be a part of this group. Before I begin and talk about myself, I'm like, Kirat, I don't want to talk too much about me. It's about being here and supporting women, but I think this is our first step, right? Our first step is getting a group of women together that is different than we're already creating diversity in this call, and I love that. That's, I think, how you learn the most is when you step out of particularly your own culture and get to see how other women are doing it in different cultures, and you see a lot of similarities, but I think we can learn so much. I've already even learned some things today on this call, so I think this is great. So I work for a company called Dynamics User Group, and we hosted an event recently that Amna and Faisal have mentioned, which is called Dynamics Con. And it's a virtual multi-day conference that we really strive to have people that are not the same at. So we really pushed for speakers in the Microsoft product space that spoke different languages that were outside of the US. So it's a US based conference, but our goal is really to bring people together. I mean, what a time we live in is what my husband always says, because we can connect with people all over the world by just getting on our computers every day. And sometimes we take that for granted. And so my company, Dynamics User Group, is really trying to actually make moves and bring people together. So again, I'm super happy to be here. I'm one of the user group directors. That we have 3 employees, and I am one of them. And I would just love to connect more if anyone's interested in our group. And Faisal has all the good information, as does Amna. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide, and we'll dive into some community engagement. So today, here's the things that I will be covering. And again, I might go a little bit off topic because I think that Kirat already brought up some really great things to weave into my conversation. But specifically to community, and I'll mainly be referencing a virtual community like we're all plugging into today, but it goes beyond virtual. Some of this does flow into your in-person communities, and I would love to hear more about how some of these are similar and how they are different where you are located versus where I am located. So I think that would be a really great follow-up for later in the call. So we'll talk about how you get started. We'll definitely touch on social media and how that can really be a driver for you in succeeding with building a virtual community. And then we'll talk about involving the people in your lives in that. And I know as women, I think we are just naturally built and designed, and our social spheres tell us that we have to be humble and not share our successes. And I, for one, am terrible at that. So like Kirat said, we sometimes fail ourselves. And that is one area where I probably could improve in myself, is just sharing your successes that you're having along the way with the people that love you. And then we'll just, of course, touch on consistency of these actions to help you build your community presence. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so I can't say this enough, but girl power, it's so important. And I think what we heard earlier is it does seem to be, unfortunately, there is something in our cultures as well, I think universally, where it's less collaboration and more competition. And I absolutely agree that with Qurat that we have to really work with each other. And I think this is a great first step. This meeting today is exactly what breaks those things apart, is coming together and discussing our journeys and our stories and what we've learned. So community is everywhere. Like I said, it's all around you physically, but virtually we are so easily connected into so many resources. So where do you start? I know even a lot of you are primarily on LinkedIn and you don't choose to go on other social channels, maybe because you simply don't have time, or you don't know, even if you wanted to dedicate a little bit of time, where would you even start? Where would you go? And the first thing I would say, and I think this is probably true of a lot of people on this call, is you research the people you find interesting. So maybe it's some of the women and Faisal on this call and other men on this call today. Sorry, that was my doggy. You find them, follow them, see what they're doing, what they're posting, find their messaging, see what's been effective for them. I also encourage you to look more into what's creating synergy. So there's a lot of different community subgroups. So this is one example of like a community user group. Look at how other user groups or community-led groups are building bonds and building a larger community. There's generally it's called a synergy, so where the two groups really kind of complement each other. The more communities, especially in an online presence and virtually, that you join, the more you'll start to see and make friends along the way that are also involved in multiple communities. So LinkedIn is a great example. They have many groups that you can join, whether it's to help your career and it's more professionally driven and it's product based, or even if it's not career driven, it might just be a more broad women in tech group. Of course, we want you to stay plugged into the Pakistan community, but I encourage you to also look at groups that are maybe just beneficial for you from a personal development and growth perspective. So another thing too, I don't know if this is as popular where all of you are located, but listening to podcasts, reading different blogs and articles, of course, that are out there will also help you start to learn actually a lot of familiar names and faces that I would recommend that you keep listening to and following. And it's just a great way to start to build this own little network of your own. So I always encourage people to find people that are different than themselves. So I tend to find people who do something completely different than me, but we have some type of commonality. So usually Microsoft product driven. I try to find people who are doing a totally different job than I am. And I love to see how they're doing their job differently. I actually don't work directly with the Microsoft products. My roles have always been more about driving and engaging community. But I encourage all of you to find someone that does a completely different job than you in this Microsoft product space and start to learn more about them. Maybe you're a little nervous to send them a direct message, but follow their posts, comment on their posts, get to know them a little bit better. And again, I think women focused or led communities are a wonderful place to get a different flavor and tone for figuring out very similar problems. Women-based communities, I know sometimes there feels like there's a lot, but there are always things to learn from other women. And I think especially right now, if we can bring in the different cultural aspect to it, that's only going to make us all better and stronger as leaders and coaches, like we heard. And then I always believe in the buddy system. So having a friend do this with you. It's a great way to build accountability for both of you. So maybe it's just something fun that you challenge your friend and yourself with for one quarter and say, every week, let's be sure to post once a week, and then we'll like each other's posts and share each other's posts. And quickly you'll notice and start to see how quickly you gain visibility and more interest in your post by having your accountability buddy, as I like to call it. You can go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit right to social media. So I think I heard LinkedIn earlier from Qurat, excuse me, and how she uses that effectively. And that's where I know social media, you can always only give so much time and only have so much to say sometimes, but it is really a tool. I kind of joke and say social media is sometimes my new best friend because it helps connect me to making new connections and making new friends in the community. Faisal and I have had a wonderful time getting to know each other through the community, and him and I talk here and there, and it's great. I look forward to him and I getting those opportunities, and I've also had a lot of great new connections that I may never get to meet in person, but I still feel like I'm making new friends out there, all with a like-minded commonality of the Microsoft product. So it's really fun. So this it might seem very simple, but I just wanted to highlight some of the things that can help you grow and engage in community, because there's no one that's going to hand you a whole bunch of new interested followers and commenters. You have to build that up. You have to work at it, and it takes consistency, definitely, which we'll talk about at the end. But I cannot say I can't emphasize enough how much of a tool social media can be for your professional career. So absolutely in your personal career, but it helps. I've literally seen people who just haven't taken much time to connect into community when we were all in person before the pandemic, but they decided, I'm going to be a little more active on LinkedIn. And eventually they comment more on posts. They're posting more regularly, mainly professionally, but also personally. And this has eventually led to new connections at different companies, new friendships, and potentially new career opportunities. I've actually seen community give people career opportunities that, had they not put in the work and plugged in, they probably wouldn't have had those same opportunities. So it's absolutely a tool for your career, and it, beyond helping you learn how to use the product better, it can really help your long-term career goals. So I would just say, from that aspect, it's time well spent. Follow everyone. So again, if you're using Twitter, Facebook, follow everyone, like anyone. And then if you're using LinkedIn, everyone on this call, I'd encourage you to find each other and send connection requests. It's just a great way to start getting those people's messages into your homepage feed, if you will. And then I would say, create posts as often as you can. That seems simple enough, right? take a little time. I do a mixture of posts just from my personal experience. I do short, quick posts. I do really long posts where I share some personal stories or insight. And I try to be a very humble person. And so it's hard to, again, as women, I think it's hard for us to share personal information, or maybe you don't feel the most comfortable sharing something personal, but maybe share a work story. And it doesn't always have to be a positive story. Like we heard already today, we all fail every day. Talk about how you failed, talk about where you could use help, or talk about how you turned it around. People on LinkedIn in particular, they love reading those stories because we have all experienced something similar. Comment. So commenting is very powerful. So maybe posting is something you kind of say, what am I going to talk about? What would I post about? Something that's sometimes a little bit of an easier avenue to build your online community engagement is commenting on people's posts. So on this call, we have some really great social influencers. Commenting on their posts is a great way for you to still gain engagement and credibility in the space, in the community. When I say the space, I mean the community. So commenting is a great way to get your name out there as well, and learn and find new contacts that you can help and you can benefit from. Sharing information, like I said, about yourself, whether it's professionally or personally, that is my experience. And I'll just take one step back really quick and say, Oh, probably, maybe a year and a half ago. No, even just a year ago, I hardly ever posted anything. I didn't think it was worth my time. I didn't think I had the time. I mean, most importantly, I didn't think anyone really cared what I had to say on social media. So I thought, why would I do that? And I think as women, that's how our minds work at first. And it's hard to break that barrier without feeling like you're talking about yourself all the time. So I found ways to highlight other people. That's where I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable saying, this person in the community accomplished this, or this person in the community overcame this challenge. That's where I found a comfortable way to regularly engage in community. So I hope maybe that's helpful for some of you. And then the last thing I'll say is, don't ever be afraid if you did have a great post, either you were praising someone else or you were sharing a great story, or you have a great product tip that you've done on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Reshare that same post. Maybe you reword it a little bit in a few months and a couple months later. Maybe it was a really successful post for whatever it is. You can modify it, or you can reshare the same post and say, let's talk about this again. We forget that we all actually have great content and we can repurpose it and reuse it. So don't forget that's a special tool that we all have. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so involving others. I think this is also the hardest thing for women to do naturally. But think of it as building a personal brand. I don't know if many of you know the name Donna Sarkar from Microsoft. She's a big evangelist in the Power Platform space, but she really does a great job at building her own brand as a person. And I know that seems kind of just, wow, that's a really big goal. But we're actually all our own brand. Our name, our face is a brand. And it's kind of like starting a new business. You just have to get out there. That's the first step. You just have to get out there, let people see your name, let people see your face, and they'll think, gosh, that last post from that name, I like that. I'm going to read this next one. People get very interested in hearing what like-minded people in this space have to say. So keep in mind that you're building your own personal brand, kind of like starting a new business. The next thing is, tell the people in your life what you're doing. Those are going to be your biggest advocates in the community. So this also very hard for me to do. My husband is very encouraging, and as is my family and my friends. But even for me to say, oh, go and check out my LinkedIn post, like even for a long time, I thought I don't want to do that. But once I started doing it, he was my biggest fan. He always, he and, just friends and family and coworkers or colleagues, they want to support you. So tell them what you're doing. Say, hey, I started getting involved on social media or even in a localized community group. Could you support me in this way? Could you look at my post and read it and comment or like it? Those are the people that want to see you succeed the most. So include them in your journey. My dad used to tell me, never be too proud to ask for encouragement, support, or help. And that's so true. And then I always just tell people the fastest way to help those people who love and support you or you work with, and they're your work support, send them the link. Say, hey, I posted this out on social media. Do you mind engaging with it, liking it, commenting on it, and just send them the direct links, and then it's so easy for them, and it helps you build new eyes. And it's not necessarily about that person. I have a sister who works as a financial advisor in the United States, and she travels all over the country. And she and I like each other's posts. We're in very different industries, use very different products, but because she likes my post and I like hers, we're sharing that post with all of our different networks and bringing them together. So even a woman that she works with saw my post about this actual community meeting, and she commented and sent me a message and said, "This is so cool." And so we have to remember that, you know, having one person, especially maybe in a different industry, engage is all of their network seeing your work too. So it's a building block. It's like getting the ball rolling. And then again, like I said, share your successes and then ask for help when you need it. You know, maybe especially as you're trying to get more involved in community, the easiest way is to put your questions out to the community on how you could use help. But if you do have an influencer, which I forget how important it is to always have a mentor, especially in anything you're doing in your career, but ask that mentor or ask an influencer in our industry. Maybe it's a social media influencer, or maybe it's a product influencer. Ask them for suggestions, to have them look at your posts and say, how would you improve this content? And they are usually the most helpful people, because all of them have been where we are, especially in starting that journey to get more involved and create community engagement. So they're almost always willing to help and want to see you succeed. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so again, I think consistency is key. I think we've all probably had at least one goal in our lives, or one thing we said we were going to do, like we were going to eat less desserts, or we were going to exercise more. So we all have goals, but sometimes life gets busy and in the way, and it's hard to keep up with them. So I talked about, you know, one way to be successful when you build community engagement is to find a buddy and to hold each other accountable on number of posts or engagements in the virtual community setting, or even in the in-person community setting. But keep going, keep at it. I remember when because we were trying to build Dynamics Con, we had never been in this space. Dynamics Con was brand new. Nobody ever heard of it. And I just said, the only way that I can do my best to help this grow is to be more active on social media. And in Change, it actually gave me this social media presence that I didn't actually plan for, but I knew for the event, I wanted to get people involved, and I wanted to share what it was, and I wanted to get everyone involved and you know, build a new community. And so sometimes I would post things and nobody would interact with it. maybe my boss would. But you have to remember to just keep going. The more you do it, the more people are seeing it, and the more interested they are in hearing what you're working on. So just keep going. Even when it feels like no one's reading it or listening, they sure are. They sure are. And it takes a long time, right? It takes a long time to build that up. So like I said, I've been doing this actively for about a year. And sometimes even I get busy and I get focused and I don't have much time to post, but keep doing it. It's going to take a long time, but of course, just like everything, the more you put in, the more you get out. And then, like I said earlier, reshare your own content. So think about something successful that you wrote, and maybe it wasn't on social media at all. Maybe it was on a blog, or it was something completely unrelated. Use that content and repurpose it and reshare it, repost it, rewrite it. And a lot of people, it's amazing, don't actually see it the first time. So remember that. Sometimes people don't see what you post the first time or the second time. So don't be afraid to reshare your valuable content. Like I said, whether it's strictly about a product, whether it's about a problem that you've had with a Microsoft product, or if it's just something about community, reshare. People love that. And then, of course, I think we've all heard this, but be honest. I think, you know, people can tell when you're authentic, and I can't say how much people value that and how interested people are when you get a little bit more open and share the hardships, as we call them. And people like to hear that, and they're there to give you advice. So be open to advice, and it's only going to make your work life better, your community engagement better, and maybe even your professional development better. So that is all of my slides. I think I just have an ending slide with my information on it. Like I said earlier, girl power. I just love this meeting. This is so great. I hope that this group continues to get together, and there are my social links if you're interested, and my email on the screen as well. And thank you everyone for letting me present today.
Wow, Molly. It's flabbergasted, actually.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your time and for this wonderful session. Okay, actually, we have a list of questions that we would love to ask you, and surely we'll do later on in the ending.
Great.
But now is the time to move on for our next speaker, Amna Jalal, the one of the closest friend of mine. She is being an amazing mentor and, of course, a true advisor one should listen to. A great human being as well. And of course, as I said, one of my closest friend. So I think she can better present herself at her own. So over to you, Amna.
Well, thank you so much, Amna, for such kind words. And you are the leader, though. That was really impressive, everyone. And Kurat being my mentor, and Molly, you were, I mean, I must just say that you have such a cheerful personality. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum and good day, everyone. My name is Amna Jalal, and I'm a passionate learner, a mentor, and a Dynamics 365 enthusiast. Currently working at Very Park as a software developer in the CRM domain. Luckily, I'm blessed to have a really supportive family. They've always encouraged and motivated me to build my career, and it has been 6 years now. But that is not how it is for everyone. Not everyone has a supportive family. People face a lot of hardships and eventually result in lack of confidence. And that is when they forget their worth and start doubting themselves. That is my topic for today. Know your worth. I'll share some key points that would help you boost your confidence. Can we please move to the next slide? Hello?
Yes, you are audible, Amna.
Yeah, I was just saying, can we please move to the next slide?
Yeah, sure. I think Faisal, Faisal, are you there on call? Just a moment.
I'm so excited for the next slide now.
Yeah, so am I. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a great topic. I'm going to be listening big. This is a good one for me to hear.
Maybe
Okay,
we can
so in the
dive into it,
meantime,
Amna. We are
yeah, in the
waiting anxiously.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, in the meantime, I'd like to we can do some kind of activity.
Yeah,
Just think about or tell me about the one good thing that you think that you are most proud of.
yes,
I
please.
hope that question is not for me because I have more than one.
Yeah, sure, more than one. I'd be happy to hear more than one. I mean, because actually the point is that you guys are fabulous women, I must say. But the very young women, they actually they are most of the times very blank on how to express their, you can say, or the whatever attributes they possess. They are actually they fail to explain those things. So that is my point where I want to highlight
Mhm.
that I've met many young women like myself, and when I ask them about the best thing about themselves or a list of things that they are proud of, most of them are totally blank. And
Mhm.
I believe that is the most difficult thing, like to think about your own capabilities.
Yeah,
So
I would
that's
like
when
to
I,
believe we are
yeah.
still young at heart. That's the first thing
Thank you.
to respond. And yeah, so I agree to you. As youngsters, it is difficult when you're trying to identify who you really are. So at that point, you don't know what your strength is. So identification, so the identity crisis is what happens to a lot of us, or the imposter syndrome, where we don't really know what's happening, what is our self-worth. You asked just to share one thing, so I believe I am resilience is what I'm very proud of. I'm glad to have it. So no matter what happens, I know I will get back up.
Wow. Molly, what
Great.
about you?
Oh gosh, most proud of. I would say this is, and you all get to be a part of this. Having probably in the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, having so many opportunities to present. I used to be petrified and scared and terrified of doing any kind of presenting. And I just never wanted to do it. I always said no. But once I forced myself to just do it and keep doing it and keep practicing, it never came easy. But now I'm really proud because I love doing it, and I get so many opportunities because I say yes now to doing things like this that I think are really important. So that would be what I'm most proud of, is getting much more comfortable presenting in front of a group.
Wow,
Great.
that's cool. Amna, would you like to give your inputs on this?
I think I surely do, but I think we are back on the slides, so I am more excited to hear you this time, Amna. So I think you can proceed.
That is very clever of you. Okay, so now this is the main point, like explore your inner self. So, actually, the point is that it is really important to know about your own self. Nobody else knows about you better than your own self. You know your positive points, you know what you lack in. So it's you who has to decide about your points. It's always good to discuss about these with your friends, but do not take that feedback as the last verdict. Sit down, make a list, and start working on those points, negative points especially. And by doing this, you will get a clear idea where you stand. Next slide, please. Stay positive. So even if people criticize your work, belittle you don't have to stop yourself from moving forward. Take that feedback very positively. Try to improve your negative points instead of getting hurt. I've literally seen people crying on these petty issues. The key is to have control over your emotions. Next slide, please. Believe in yourself. Good things happen to you if you start believing in yourself. So stay firm in your beliefs. This will result in building confidence. And confidence is the key to success, actually. People will listen to you and get convinced only if you're able to speak with confidence. Okay. So next one is self-care. For this, I'd like to say that it is very necessary to make a routine and follow it. With this, you get self-motivated. Get up, dress up, keep your surroundings clean, exercise daily, drink lots of water, and spend time with family. Read a book, do some gardening, talk to a friend. There's so much else that you must do besides your work. And even if you're not a working woman, you need to take out some time for yourself. This is very important. If you don't do it, you will forget your existence, get tired, and end up in a groaning old lady. Next slide, please. So, this is probably the last point. Learn to say no. and you actually need to set some boundaries. There's always a positive phase to say no, and you actually need to restrict your boundaries. So, for example, working for late hours very often can drain you out completely. I understand that there are some, in our field especially, there are deadlines every time, but that doesn't mean that you neglect your family and that you um, just drain yourself or get frustrated. People take advantages unnecessarily if you don't set boundaries. So instead, you should always try to limit these things and not get frustrated in the end. So that is it. Can we move to the next one? So lastly, I would just like to say that know your worth, because if you don't, no one else will. This is it. Thank you.
Wow, Amna, I am really feeling boosted. Thank you so much for your time and for this great session. We'll definitely come up and we'll practice the ideas you had just have discussed. But right now, I think it's a great time to have a discussion with our three beautiful and wonderful women here. Actually, I have few questions that I would randomly like to ask from all of you, and I'm sure you would love to answer them too. So let's start. So who is going to be the first to answer the question?
Not me.
I
For
believe you
sure
ask the
not.
question, Amna, and then we will pick who is going to answer.
Okay, so actually, it's my wish if this question should be answered by Kurat about how to manage work-life balance. I believe
Okay.
that's a tricky one.
Yeah. I believe I know why it is targeted towards me, because I know I'm mostly seen as someone who is almost always working. Um, so the way I look at it, Amna, is more about work-life integrity, integrating the two rather than trying to balance. So, I don't really believe in working 9 to 5 or 8 hours a day or 5 hours a day. Work is part of my life. Life is not part of my work. So, these two things are pretty integrated. If I'm working at night, there are times when I'm working at night. In the morning, I would be doing my personal stuff. I would go out for a walk. I'll meet my friends. So I since I have had the opportunities of working with some great people who had the discipline and who have shown me how to manage this well, now I know at what time the things that take the priority, even if it is like 10 a.m. in the morning, but there is an emergency that I need to take care of. If my mother wants needs to be tended, I would go ahead and do it, and then in my own time, I'll come back and get my work done as well. So I believe in work-life integration rather than work-life balancing. That's the answer to it. Of course, there are times when when I get tired, when one of the two things takes a toll on me, either life or work, and at that point, I just take a break from both and go to sleep because that's my therapy. But yeah. I believe in integration rather than trying to balance, because I could in the last 11 years, when I was trying to balance, I could never find that balance. The compass was never balanced. The moment I started integrating the two, now I am in a very better and happy space.
Cool. Again, and very inspiring. Okay, thank you so much. And my next question is for Molly. What do you think the aspects of empathy and integrity in your life? Being a professional woman like you are considering and keep, trying to be keeping a balance on your personal life and in your professional life. So, what is the impact of empathy in your life?